Dear students and friends, today I am going to deliver a lecture on the environmental impacts of mining. Mining industry addresses to the absolutely important issue of minerals, which is indispensable for any nation. However, at the same time, it is a constant source of environmental pollutants. The mine environment has a direct impact on the workers' health and an indirect effect on the mine surrounding environment. Degraded land mine dumps, tailing dams and resultant situation of drainages, creek and rivers can significantly impact the surrounding areas. In areas of wilderness, mining may cause destruction and disturbance of ecosystems and habitats, and in areas of farming it may disturb or destroy productive grazing and croplands. In urbanized environments, mining may produce air, water, dust and noise pollution. Furthermore, in rural and urban settings, a plethora of socio-economic and cultural impacts are experienced as a byproduct of mining industry. Although both underground and surface mining result in significant alterations and deterioration to the environment, the present lecture dwells only on the mining impacts of surface mining operations. This is largely because of two reasons. Firstly, surface mining, in line with global trend, has a major share in Indian mineral industry. Almost 70 to 80% of minerals are mined by surface mining methods. Secondly, surface mining disturbs the environment and ecology to much greater scale in comparison to the underground mining methods. The major impacts of surface mining are mentioned in a gist herewith. Number 1, alteration of the surface associated with the devastation of surface soil. Example is open pit workings, spoil banks, depressions, etc. Number 2, upsetting the natural underground and surface water, example water pollution and water decay, etc. Number 3, devastation of vegetation, for example deforestation, degradation of soil, fertility, etc. Number 4, pollution of air as a result of particulate matter dispersion and gassy emissions. Number 5, dust pollution due to open pit blast and coal screening plants. Number 6, mill tailings from the processing of ore and the waste disposal from the washeries. Number 7, noise pollution has been accepted as a pollution that will never directly affect the workers, but it will certainly affect the quality of life after some time. Number 8, socio-economic and cultural changes brought forth with surface mining operations. The entire globe is aware of these environmental changes. However, looking at the importance of mining industry, need of the hour is to mitigate these environmental nuisances hand in hand with mining of minerals. It may be appropriate to underline the need for formulation of suitable policies in order to provide maximum protection to natural environment and surroundings on one hand, and safeguard mineral extraction and recovery on the other hand. Mining and its subsequent activities have been found to degrade the land to a significant extent, and mining operations regularly modify the surroundings landscape by exposing previously undisturbed earthen materials. Overburden removal from a surface mining operations result in a very significant loss of rich topsoil and rainforest. Overburden removal, drill blast excavation or cut load operation also result in generation of huge volumes of waste, which is soil, debris, underlying waste rocks and other material. The bigger the scale of the mine, greater is the quantum of waste generated. Open cast mines are therefore more pollution intensive as they generate much higher quantities of waste compared to the underground mines, as told already in the previous section. Open pits produce 8 to 10 times greater waste material in comparison to underground mines. Though most mining wastes such as overburden are inert solid materials, the industry also generates waste that is toxic in nature. Some of these toxicants are inherently present in the mineral body. For instance, heavy metals such as mercury, arsenic, lead, zinc, cadmium, etc. These heavy metals have a tendency to leach out of the stored waste piles, contaminating the local environment, waterways and drainage systems. As the operations of mining are carried over on and on, the land becomes more and more prone to erosion due to loss of green cover. The local water bodies are affected, and the cumulative effects of all these actions push the land towards the degradation. The magnitude and significance of impact on environment due to mining varies from mineral to mineral and also on the potential of the surrounding environment to absorb the negative impacts of mining, geographical disposition of mineral deposits and size of mining operations. The total area of mining lease with active mining operations is the minimum area that gets affected by waste generation. However, the actual off-site affected area impacted by pollution and degradation is normally far more than the area of the lease in which the operations are in progress. It is also possible that a number of mines may exist in a close cluster, adding to the adverse effects. Accumulation of mill tailings and red mud definitely catalyze the seriousness of the environmental adverse effects. Now, let us see what are the remedial measures to prevent the land degradation. Number 1 is the rehabilitation, restoration and reclamation. The objective of these key elements is to return the land to a form and productivity that is in conformity with the prior land use plan, including a stable ecological state that is in coherence with the ecology and consistent with surrounding aesthetics. In other words, the post-mining land must be hospitable to organisms that were originally present or others that approximate the original inhabitants. The land condition and topography may be restored back to its original form, or it may be improved by implementing alternative land use plan after the close of mining operations. The key features to ensure the aforesaid objectives are: number 1, mapping to delineate the land area under direct or indirect environmental degradation. Number 2, geological and geotechnical investigation to know the relevant soil parameters that may affect the sustainable restoration of soil. Number 3, meteorological and climatic investigation to know the rainfall, wind and humidity pattern that affect the plantation of trees. Number 4, study of hydrological conditions to know the quality, quantity, storage and flow of water in the local ecosystem. Number 5, topographic study to know the land pattern to facilitate the reclamation plan in such a manner that the reclaimed land is coherent with the previously undisturbed land. Number 6. Vegetation studies to know the fast growing plant and tree varieties in the area. The next comes impact of mining on water, that means the water pollution. One of the most adverse impacts of mining is on water and water availability. The sources of water pollution in mines are: number 1, acid mine drainage. Water drained from mines have a high concentration of sulfuric acid formed by the dissolution of sulphide ore in mine runoff water. This acidic water further dissolves toxic metals like arsenic, gold, barium, etc. during its flow through the channelized path. This acidic water discharged from mining areas is termed as acid mine drainage. The acid mine drainage offers a potential threat to the aquatic life, animals, human beings and vegetation in and around the villages in the vicinity of mine area. It toxifies the water bodies to pH levels as low as 3 and below, rendering water unfit for drinking, bathing or any other useful purpose. Number 2, soil erosion from dumps and heap leaching. The overburdened dumps are usually washed off during heavy rainfall and storms to become a source of sedimentation in the nearby water bodies. Huge amount of sediment load is added to the water resources, thereby blocking these potential channels and making them toxic. The sediments leached out from the dumps have abundant metallic content like lead, mercury, copper, etc., which is detrimental to human as well as plant and animal health. Lead and mercury are a major cause of low intellectuality development of children, while copper and other base metals are responsible for several allergic developments in the affected local communities. Number 3, tailing disposal from processing plants. Tailing disposed from processing plants also pose a threat to the water quality, the reason being their improper handling. Tailings, being rich in heavy metals, contaminate the water bodies heavily. These metals thus enter the food chain and form the part of life cycle, posing a threat to existence of biotic community. Number 4, dewatering from mine and processing plants. Water that is dewatered from mines and processing plants is also a source of pollution of water bodies. Now let us see that what are the remedial measures to control water pollution. Under this, number 1 is acid mine drainage. Acid mine drainage is almost inevitable in surface as well as underground mines, but to some extent we can control it by proper treatment of the discharge water. Proper neutralization of discharge water can be ensured by adding limestone, siderite, etc. Number 2, proper drainage channel can prevent runoff water getting into the undesirable mining locations. Number 3, tailing discharge should be dumped in dedicated dumping sites far away from the water bodies and local settlements. Number 4, evaporation chambers to evaporate highly contaminated water streams and subsequent careful discharge of solid residuals are also useful. Airborne emissions occur during each stage of the life cycle of mine. Mining operations mobilize large amounts of material containing small size particles that are easily dispersed by the wind. Large scale mining has tremendous potential to pollute the air especially in its operational phase. Activities during mineral extraction, handling, transport and processing depending on technology, equipment and processes. These all activities generate hazardous air pollutants such as particulate matter, heavy metals, carbon monoxide, sulfur dioxide and nitrogen oxides. The major sources of air pollution due to mining are: number 1, particulate matter transported by the wind as a result of excavation, blasting, loading and transportation of materials; wind erosion, more frequent in open pit mining; fugitive dust from tailing disposal sites, stockpiles, waste dumps, haul roads, etc. Exhaust emissions from mobile sources such as cars, trucks, heavy equipment exorbitantly raise these particulate levels. Number 2 is gaseous emissions from the combustion of fuels in stationary and mobile sources, explosions and mineral processing. Once the pollutants enter the atmosphere, they undergo physical and chemical changes before reaching a receptor. These pollutants bear great potential to influence the overall health of the mining system, inclusive of community health. Now, let us discuss the mobile and stationary sources of air pollution. The mobile and stationary sources of air pollution must be clearly understood, and they are explained as: mobile sources are those sources of air pollutants which include heavy vehicles used in excavation operations, cars that transport personnel at the mining site, and trucks that transport mining materials. The level of polluting emissions from these sources depend on the fuel and conditions of the equipment. Even though individual scale emissions can be relatively small, collectively these emissions can be of real concern. Additionally, the mobile sources are major generators of particulate matter, carbon monoxide and volatile organic compounds that contribute significantly to the formation of ground level ozone. Now, the stationary sources: large volumes and quantity of gaseous emissions are emitted from combustion of fuels in power generation, smelting, which includes drying, roasting and other miscellaneous processes, refining and other related operations. Many producers of precious metals smelt metal on site prior to shipping to off-site refineries. Typically, gold and silver is produced in melting, fluxing furnaces that may produce elevated levels of airborne mercury, arsenic, sulfur dioxide and other metals. Now, let us discuss the control of air pollution. Air pollution control involves implementation of a series of preventive and suppressive measures so that the levels of pollutants are maintained within acceptable standards. 4 strategies are in vogue in this light. Number 1, air quality management approach. Number 2, emission standards approach. Number 3, economic approach. Number 4, cost benefit approach. Now, number 1 is air quality management approach. This approach rests on the tenet of regulating the amount, location and time of pollutant emissions to ensure certain clearly defined set of ambient air quality standards. It also involves the control of pollutant emissions to ensure that these accepted standards do not exceed the acceptable limits. Number 2, emission standards approach. In this, emission standards are distinguished for large number of pollutants and are applied to individual or specific group of emitters. If emission standards are derived from consideration of air quality standards, then it forms an emission strategy, in fact a part of air quality management system. It is the best available and economically feasible technique. Number 3 is the economic approach. Economic based approach to air pollution control rests on the concept of providing financial incentives for emission sources to pursue the most cost effective means for reducing pollution. The emission penalty strategy based on mandatory requirement of paying the penalty depending upon the amount of emitted pollutants is also adopted as a common technique. The purpose is to leave to the choice of the operators to decide on whether they want to control the pollution or pay heavy penalties to the concerned authorities. The cost benefit approach. Cost benefit approach first forecasts the costs, which means direct as well as indirect cost of all the damages resulting from air pollution. Thereafter, it provides concrete suggestions on adopting suitable measures to minimize the damage by controlling the pollution and its related cost. If measures to control air pollution and its related pollution control expenditures are not incurred as suggested in the cost benefit analysis, ambient air quality will be extremely poor. As such, the damage cost will be high, and in the vice versa case, the damage control cost will fall. Surveys of mining areas have shown that the noise levels at many workstations are in excess of the allowable exposure for shorter durations. It has been observed that in most cases the problem of noise control involves a complex system of the basic elements, for example, the source, the path and the receiver. It is therefore necessary to study the dominant sources of the noise pollutants, the characteristics of the significant transmission path of the noise waves, the acceptable level of the noise, the consequence of noise on persons not engaged in industrial tasks, whether at work or at leisure activities, is not clearly understood. Although it is well known fact that noise can cause annoyance, distraction and sleep interference even at fairly low levels. An extremely important aspect of noise control is concerned with the prevention of damage to the hearing power of persons who are exposed to high intensity noise levels. Even at moderate and low levels, noise is undesirable because of its interference with speech and sound. Human exposure to excessive noise and loud sound causes fatigue in the ear and may also result in more damaging effects. The maximum permissible exposure to sound under occupational health and safety is given in table 3. Let us now see that what are the major sources of noise in mines. Mobile plants like in-pit crushers, bulldozers, drilling machines, loading, excavating and transport units, etc., blasting, crusher plants, mills and screening plants, workshops, mine ventilation fans, neighborhood noise are the major contributors to the noise in the mines. Noise control. It is very important to know that what is and how the noise control can be done. The tools and techniques can be used both on individual basis or on collective basis to control the noise. The choice between these two is dependent mainly on factors like cost effectiveness and acceptability. A good functional design can considerably help to reduce the noise. However, the commonly used prevalent techniques are to prevent the noise from generation, to confine the noise source by isolating it, to modulate the noise by air silencers, etc., to isolate the whole machine or plant from people by remote operators, to isolate people from the noise generation sources, to reduce the exposure time to high level noise, and to effective use of ear plugs, ear muff, etc. Some of the socio-economic cultural impacts of mining are: number 1, relocation, resettlement of host communities and its aftermath. Number 2, socio-cultural changes brought forth in the society due to harsh working conditions warranted by the mining industry. Number 3, disturbance in flora and fauna lead to changes in the cultural pattern as well. Number 4, economic changes brought forth due to changes in land use pattern. Number 5, aesthetic changes brought forth due to land degradation, air, water and noise pollution, and visual impacts due to clearing of vegetation. These visual impacts are negative visual impacts. Large excavations, dust and the presence of large scale equipment and vehicles are also detrimental. It has been realized that although some degree of disturbance due to socio-economic cultural changes is inevitable even in the best managed mines, some drawbacks could be avoided if mine operators operate as per the best possible standards. The main challenge, however, is the confidence building measure between mine operators and community. This can be best built by ensuring that entire community benefits from the presence of mining companies. This confidence can overpower the fear of negativity from the minds of the community. In recent years, this approach has been termed as responsible mining and has been successfully campaigned by civil society organizations world over. Principles of responsible mining are: ensure multi-stakeholder engagement, transparency and openness, uphold law and its enforcement, uphold the responsibility for the safety of people and environment, investment in future development, ensure high productivity and efficiency, adherence to human and ethical values. Mining of minerals is absolutely important for any nation having rich mineral resources, and this is particularly true for our nation also. Looking at the need for energy and mineral, the worldwide trend is shifting in favor of surface mining methods, which is much more productive in comparison to tedious underground mining methods. The bias towards the surface mining method brings forth a host of environmental challenges that call for attention. Land degradation, Air, water, noise and ecological pollution need to be mitigated during mining phase. The negative impacts of socio-cultural and economic changes also need to be properly and cautiously addressed too. The aesthetic changes send a severe negative impact on the society. As such, appropriate remedial measures during the mining operations and also during the post mining operation need to be undertaken as per the stipulations laid in the Environmental Management Plan EMP. Non-protection of environment by the responsible organization must be severely penalized. Thank you very much.